The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
If you're planning for buying or selling a home, the real estate crew's got news for you at the Real Estate House Party.
With attorney Rick Carter,
Real Estate House Party.
paralegal Kathy Holtshouser,
Real Estate House Party. Come in, have fun.
and comedian Tony V. Now, here's real estate attorney Rick Carter.
Welcome to the...
That's you. That's you.
See, someone always interrupts. It's usually me.
Yeah,
that was a record.
Well,
that wasn't even a minute in.
Listen,
we were wrong with the script.
We got to tell people this. Before we start recording, they put us on mute so they can catch up to
And we have a lot to say.
to the interweb. Right, because we're talking. And then they go, we're going to put you on mute. And that 20 seconds is frightening because I'm alone with my own thoughts.
I know, me too.
You know what I mean?
No,
And
you're
it's-
right. I feel like I'm in a coffin or something.
Yeah, it's
you know
like
what
a
I mean?
dark
And I have
place.
something to say.
know, and
in
then-
that 20 seconds, I have
So I
something I
psych
want to
myself
say.
out of being
Right.
in the coffin, and then all of a sudden I'm supposed to speak. So here I am.
But
Well,
Tony thinks that we should introduce our guest
well,
before.
we got to say the name of the
Yes.
show and all
Oh
that.
yeah,
Should we do
real
that?
estate,
Yeah.
real estate house party.
Yeah,
Now
this
she's
is
mocking it. Do you want to say who the others are on the show? And
And attorney Ricardo,
Yeah.
paralegal extraordinaire, Kathy Holtshouser,
she gets that in.
And,
huh?
That right
You
there.
can
and
tell
the-
who wrote this introduction.
Sure.
and the infamous comedian Tony
Infamous
V.
is the right word. And we have a guest.
We have Will
Yes.
Daly, and
Yeah.
I love his name. Doesn't he
Will.
sound like a reporter for like
Yeah,
one of
Will
those times?
Daly.
Will
Yeah.
Daly.
I went to college to do that.
Did you?
You
really?
actually look like you could be a
No, you have the
reporter.
perfect name for it.
Yeah.
I
And
can see you sitting behind a desk. You look very comfortable where you are right now.
breaking all the sporting news
Right.
and
I had trouble sometimes laughing in my broadcast journalism class, and they made it clear that would be a problem if my career advanced.
Oh, we didn't know that we couldn't laugh.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that here. And anytime you want to just give the weather, you go right ahead.
No, you do. You look like you could do.
And if you want to laugh out loud,
yeah,
this is
wow.
the show for you to do it.
I'm a fan. I'm a longtime friend of the pod, so I know.
Nice.
You listen to our show. I thought you listened to our show all the time until you said to me when we said you're going to have you on the show. You said, "Well, what should I prepare for?" I said, "Oh, well, I guess
He doesn't
listen
really
to the show."
listen.
Prepare for the
That
unexpected.
threw me off a
Right,
little bit,
sure.
though.
And Will's a banker.
Will's a banker. Banker
banker,
Savings.
What
Right.
kind of banker?
Mortgage banker.
Yeah.
So I do mortgage originations out of Bangor Savings. I'm in New Hampshire.
Right.
But do loans Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine.
Bangor, Maine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only been there one time. Training.
Go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No.
What, you don't do the softballs
Joe-
anymore?
No, it's one of the oldest jokes in the world.
I know.
Right. Didn't say I was going to take her to Maine, just said I was going to bang her.
He's just
You held off for
I
a
did,
second.
thank you very much. But,
At least Kathy listened to you this time there.
Yeah.
Last week she kept turning away. You were like a little mosquito. That was,
she had, because we're talking diets,
I
and we
know.
had the
Yeah.
diet
It's all over
guru.
that.
and I had
Yes.
my diet guru,
You-
and I
right,
had her.
sure,
I had her 100% attention.
You did.
Yeah, and we
did.
had questions for
Yeah.
her.
Any guest that comes on, well, Kathy seems to like assimilate, and so she'll be working for
okay.
Bangor Savings Bank
Right.
at the end of the show.
No. I wanted to tell you guys.
Go ahead.
Should I tell you on the air?
Yeah.
There's an opening at Maddie in the morning.
Oh, okay.
For what?
And I know why.
Because Gandhi's leaving.
There's a few people leaving. We know which station they're going to.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
No, Gandhi's going to New York.
Oh.
She made it big, but
Oh.
I thought that I could just slide
Why
into
don't
her
you go in
morning.
there?
I think I'm going to.
Why wouldn't you?
I'm probably like 40 years her senior, and I'm not really up on.
Maddie's 100.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, how that show worked, I'm happy for him. I've known him forever.
He doesn't
and
even like
stuff
that music, you know.
He doesn't even know the music.
No, I know.
It's not even like a generation behind him.
Right,
It's like
right.
two
Oh, yeah, yeah.
generations
Oh, yeah.
behind. He has no idea
more,
what they're
more
playing.
than that. Like they
Yeah.
play games like who sings this.
Yeah, he
Maddie
has
knows
no
nothing.
idea.
Billy
Yeah.
doesn't know anything. Lisa and Gandhi know
No,
everything.
they're like an old married couple who argue, and then the kids come in and go, "Put on some music. I'm sick of listening to this."
Yeah. He's an old BCN guy.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
He's
Oh,
a
yeah.
BCN.
Yeah.
Who's the girl who used to call in sick because she had to go to a cookout like 3 days later?
Yeah, Miss Mellons.
Oh, yeah. Are you taking Miss Mellon's place?
I could actually. Miss Mellons is back.
Well, aren't you a little confident in yourself?
Hi, Bye, Maddie. I will make it to work tomorrow.
I gotta make my potato salad.
You want me to make do you want me to make a prediction here?
Yes, I do.
I bet you they try to get Christine Hurley.
Really?
I wouldn't be surprised at all by that.
All right, then Christine would have us on as guests, though.
Of course
I
she
feel
would.
good about that
Yeah.
because me and Christine
I have no
are,
inside knowledge. If I had a guess.
You don't think
Wow.
Christine would
Wow.
forget us right off the bat, right?
No. I have her number on speed dial.
Sure.
And
Christine
if Christine
Hurley.
can't make it, you could do the show for Christine.
Because I mimic Christine pretty well. Do you know Christine Hurley?
No.
She's a really funny comedian, funny. Not as funny as Tony V, but
No,
but
she is a
who
different
would be?
kind of funny.
Right.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
Anyway.
So what are we doing? What are we doing today?
Well, we were going to start. I had some questions for Will, and we completely got sidetracked. But
Well, there's a surprise.
no, I'm really shocked.
Can you tell the audience that I don't drink?
Oh
during the
yeah.
day?
So this is for Justin Grammer. I went to the Patriots game, Patriots Texas game, and he says I listen to your podcast all the time. And he's actually coming on in a couple weeks, and we're going to talk about rental properties.
Oh, great.
And he was very serious. He says, "Can I ask you a question?" I go, "Certainly." He goes, "Kathy Holtshouser really day drink?"
Only on Saturdays, Justin. Okay, not when I'm getting paid.
Right.
He was very serious about it. So, Tony? You want to clarify it?
Yes, she only drinks, as far as we know, when she's not working. which is almost never.
So she's always drinking.
Right. So if it was a Venn diagram,
Right.
you know what I mean? A Venn diagram. The time Kathy's working, the time Kathy's drinking, and then it's somewhere
Doesn't intersect too-
Right. Not too
There's a
much.
big colored.
Big.
Or for our,
Right.
we could do the pie chart.
A pie
Here's
chart.
where she's not working.
Right.
No, one time I did almost buy wine at Rite Aid.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I didn't.
And that's the
it
best
was
kind of
close.
wine.
I thought
That's
about
the best kind of wine.
Well, we just moved into our New Hampshire office, and rough day, and we're still getting supplies for the office. And she goes over to Rite Aid to I don't know, just
to get a snack because we missed lunch.
because we missed lunch, and God forbid that's not good around. You
gotta
ever see that candy
gotta-
commercial?
you gotta
You're just
feed
not
the
right
animals.
when you don't have your.
Right.
That's how they
Feed the
are.
animals,
You gotta feed
yeah.
the animals. I just throw it in the room and run.
But
So
he wasn't around.
I wasn't around, so she went over to Rite Aid to get some snacks, and she was debating.
Whether
I'm
to
like
get some
seltzer
wine.
water, wine,
six
seltzer
pack,
water,
yeah,
wine.
Bubbly wine.
Yeah.
Nice
I know.
compromise
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there. Get a little.
Yeah.
I didn't do it though.
Right.
So she cracked
Yeah, that
the
could be-
wine.
That could be a nice little sideline for Poland Springs.
Yeah.
When
Oh,
they
I
come
like
in the
that.
big jugs to
Yeah,
put in the
yeah,
water
yeah.
thing.
Right.
Just a big jug of wine.
Yeah, that would work in our office.
She's at the water cooler again. I know.
Telling stories.
There you go.
So we were going to have Will on because, and I think we're going to, gloss over this. Maybe we'll have time at the end because we have a more interesting subject I got to talk to Will
Right.
about. But we are always talking about how properties can be sold to people that maybe want to rehab the property. So we always think brokers might want to promote that mortgage product as
Right.
opposed to just the conventional loans. Because if they're selling some house in as-is condition, they might want to get some of your flyers there. And, as Bangor Savings, you guys have a lot more products where someone could come in and maybe get a nice loan with not only the purchase price, but for rehabbing that
So when you're
property.
talking about a house that's a little run down
Yes,
or
needs
a
a little-
distressed
needs
property.
a little TLC.
Right.
As
A
they say.
fixer-upper.
A
Yeah.
fixer-upper,
Yeah.
however you want to phrase it. Yes.
That's the stuff you see now that stays on the market, right? It's
Yeah.
the stuff that's ready to go flies.
Right,
And you
exactly,
see things
exactly.
stay for 20 days, 50 days, has some hair on it, maybe needs to be fixed
Exactly.
up. So you get a loan that
That's a mortgage term.
Has some hair on
Yeah,
it.
some
Yeah,
hair on
it's
it,
been growing.
So you get get a loan that purchase a property and has a budget for fixing
For
it
new
up.
roof and new
Or,
kitchen.
rehab the
So
entire thing.
if you're buying a $400,000 house and so they want to put X amount down, how much would you loan on something like that? How much could you go up to?
You can still do 80%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do 80% of your cost plus the value of the building.
Oh.
Plus
So if it's going to cost you $50,000,
Right.
to improve the property, you'll do 80% of that $450.
Yeah, it's got to appraise out, obviously,
Yep,
but
yep.
sure, you take the price of the house plus the cost to build, you do 80% of
So
that.
they'd appraise it out on what it would be at the $490.
At the end.
At the
Sure.
end.
Okay.
Right.
And you just
And
have
not what it's worth.
and you just have
Correct.
one closing for that.
One-time close, yep.
Yep,
And
yep.
we also do land as well, which a lot of banks
A lot
don't
of banks
do
don't
anymore.
do that.
Right. So
Yeah.
you can just buy the land and build your house, somewhere down the road, or buy land that's still maybe got an older structure on there, but you just want it for the value for the home that you're going to put on there. We'll do that too. Yeah.
Do you guys do like summer like seasonal houses?
Here she goes.
Good to know.
Always her personal guest.
What's the point of having a show if you can't get
We
along?
yes, we specialize seasonal on the waterfront.
Yeah.
yeah.
That don't have basements and whatnot.
Right.
And just for the record, I don't mind a little hair on it.
There you go.
I don't either.
No, doesn't bother me one little bit. That's all I'm
Or
gonna
should
say.
it?
looking
Or should
good.
it?
Yeah. It's always looking.
So we were talking
We were
about
talking.
that.
We got a little sidetracked
And
with
we
other
got a little-
tales.
We will do that
We got a
periodically.
little, in our first text over to
Periodically.
Will, we got sidetracked, so I figured he'd be perfect for the show. We're talking about all the issues we've had or I've seen, and we've actually seen or heard about mortgage fraud. We've talked about some of them. We'll get back to the programs, but I'm very intrigued.
Who cares about the programs? He's
are
at
what they are.
Bangor,
Right, right.
Bangor Savings, or
Bangor
Bangor
Savings.
Savings.
All right, Will,
Exactly.
give your phone number out because I think we're going to lose track
Yeah, yeah.
right now. We're
Yeah.
going off.
We're going
rails.
off the rails.
problem.
Right
It's,
now.
617-735-0035.
And you're located. You're in New Hampshire.
I'm in Portsmouth,
Yeah.
Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Oh,
But you do
Beautiful place
Maine,
to
New
be.
Hampshire, and Massachusetts loans.
Yeah,
so if
Vermont as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you used to do West Coast loans. You
I used to
you'd
be
in what, Arizona?
Yeah, I lived in the Phoenix area for about 16, 17 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
mortgage
That's
lending out there
different
as well.
than Portsmouth.
Little different.
Wait, little different. That's
Climate's the
way-
same, but
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. It's the dry humidity.
It is. It's that summer that starts in April and ends in
Right.
October that they
Right.
sell you on being just
Right.
4 months. Oh, it's 4
Yeah.
months of dry heat. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 105
110,
degrees.
Yeah, right,
yeah.
exactly.
This feels longer. What are you talking about? But yeah.
So we were throwing out some issues that we've seen in our office. I know we've talked about on the show, and I think this is going to escalate because I think you have some stories more on a bigger scope. But we actually had, and I didn't tell you this, we actually had our first client bring in a fake cashier's check this year.
Right.
Which is that's a lot of work to do
And
that.
she was so mad.
That you got caught.
Yeah.
She was so mad that
Wait.
she didn't get her copies at the close.
Ah.
I know.
And we're like, no. We need you to make good. You need to give us a good
Right.
bank check. And she goes, well, the reason I couldn't give it to you is because I had to bury my mother and da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Can I have my copies?
Was
No.
the mother dead?
We don't know. She was a.
She might have just.
We
Right.
Googled her
She's
name.
probably
and
used
she-
that a few times.
Yeah.
She,
but-
yeah,
got
in
a
and out
lot
of jail.
A lot of dead mothers.
Yeah, so
Right.
on the one hand, we have the FBI tracking her down,
right.
and on the other hand, she's looking us for the copies
For
to
the-
her
for
closing,
closing, right.
so she can
Jeez.
close it up.
So she can have it
actually came in.
So how do you get it? How do you get it? Go about.
so this
Get
one.
a pen and pencil, everybody. This is. We're going to now instruct you on how to get a fraudulent bank.
This wasn't supposed to be a tutorial, right?
but it turns into it. Yes.
Well, we often put things in people's heads that weren't there to begin with. So
Crime
That's what
rate
we're
does
here
go
for,
up.
right?
This podcast, numbers shooting through the roof, and we
Right.
get a lot of crime rate
so
after
you
this.
make a copy of a bank
Yeah, so
check,
it was actually really good. What we did, and we deposit because we've never had. We've been doing this for 30
but
years.
it looks real.
It looked so
and
real.
after talking to the banker, there were cues that I should, but I've never looked at a
Well,
cashier's
we've never
check.
looked at a cashier's check and
Like
said
the perforation
oh,
on top.
like
right.
No
the,
perforation.
like the
Yeah.
name. I think it was
Perforate, yeah.
was it Bank of America?
Bank of America.
The Bank of America wasn't centered correctly, but I don't ever
There was
look
no
at
A
a
in
check
it.
and go,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
this doesn't look centered right.
Yeah.
Right. You just take it.
But
you don't,
now,
you're
but
not
now we
assuming
know
for
if
it.
you take
Sure.
a copy of the check.
They spelled bank wrong, but who's
No, they didn't. No, they did not.
that should have tipped us off. Yeah,
America.
But they have watermarks on the check.
Yes.
When you make a copy of it, it says this is not an
It's
original
void.
or,
It'll say
or,
void.
or
Oh,
something.
really?
There's
So-
some.
Yeah.
So when you
So-
make a
right,
copy,
right.
there's something that you can't see
Right.
on the
That comes
original
out.
check.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Now.
So be careful. Be careful when
Connell,
you
our
make sure to
office
get
might be we might be checking cashier's check. So
You still see a lot of people coming in with actual hard paper checks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Going out, it's more wires
Right,
now.
okay.
But coming in, they still bring in the
Well,
cashier's
and
check.
that's a good question, though, because we're very nervous to give out our wiring instructions
Right.
now, unless it's we're going. I don't know if you know this, but we're going to just do it all verbally now, just because they're telling us
Tony,
fax.
she's telling me
You
what
don't
the
send it
protocol
yeah,
is around the
electronically.
office
They're telling
during
us
the podcast.
fax
Right.
machines
Thank you.
aren't secure anymore because they're
This is
go
our
over
office
the
meeting.
phone lines and emails. Even if you send it out secure, you just don't want to ever take the chance that someone's going to
We've had
intercept
a few
that.
attorneys lately that have been bagged on it.
And it's a huge
The secure
problem.
email.
No, giving out the
Wiring
wires to the wrong
instructions,
individuals.
it gets intercepted, and they change the
Yeah.
routing number and whatnot.
I've heard 2 or 3 attorneys
Yeah.
getting
So
bagged.
it goes out somewhere. Someone intercepts it,
Yeah.
Changes
changes the routing number, and then it gets routed into
They
somebody
change it
else's
before
thing.
it goes out. They'll say, "Oh, by the way, it was supposed to go to this spot."
Right.
So, and they get all the people's names involved, all the sellers, buyers, and the closing attorney. So they'll email like the closing attorney and say, "Oh, no, we made a mistake. It was supposed to go to this email address."
And all
So
it
before
takes,
it even goes out,
right? And all it takes is a hacker to go into our borrower who probably doesn't have a secure email.
Right.
We're all secure. We have firewalls up. We got this, that, and the other thing. But
And you get alerted.
But if our
something's
borrower
tampered with.
gets hacked, then they
Right.
know who our borrower is dealing with. They're dealing with our Carter, Closings.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And then they pretend they're our Carter and then start communicating with our borrower.
right.
They don't know it's not Rick.
No, because
so,
it looks very similar.
right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So wire fraud.
We got to go back to wheelbarrows full of quarters.
No,
That's what we
you're not. You're not
That's what we
kidding.
need. Here's your down payment.
You're not kidding.
No, really.
Yeah, it's
money.
horrible. So yeah, cashier's check. Another attorney I had, a seller had to bring in money
Right.
because he was getting foreclosed on. It was a short sale. He says, "All right, you owe $40,000. You got to bring the down just to be able to close on your property." He brought down the $40,000 cashier's check. It was a bad check. Same thing. So they actually had to go after him. They actually had to foreclose.
Well, it was
on
a
the property.
fraudulent check, right?
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah,
it was
so-
a bank check.
Bang, yeah. So
But he didn't have the money to cover it.
No, he probably hooked up with our friend that.
Yeah. Hi, Martha.
It's-
We
yeah.
don't want to say her name, but
Hi, Martha. look her up.
Rhymes with.
She's a criminal.
Yeah.
yeah. So we've seen that. Now hearing cases. So that's not a simple one, but yeah, I guess so. Now I'm hearing the complex cases.
Right.
So I hear this one, and I just read about this today after our talk. I said, geez, let me go back a few years and come up with some of the mortgage fraud. It all in the last week I was getting stuff. Let me preface this too. And the other thing I was thinking about too, we actually have a form in our closing package from a lot of lenders that says, "Do not commit mortgage fraud." That's one of the forms.
That's a great form to have.
So you have a whole bunch, but have you seen any recently?
Let me tell one, because I can tell in the
Yeah.
opposite extreme, and then I think you're going to be
Sure.
able to bring one in. So we had this. We didn't. I just read about the situation where this guy was savvy. So work with me on the facts. So he took out a loan with ABC Company. Okay. And then what he did, he got attorneys involved.
Right.
He says, "Why don't we do a fake lawsuit as if ABC Company was actually going to get
an attorney would be
I know.
involved
Well,
in a
you only
fake lawsuit?
You only know the best attorneys. So I know
Right.
this is shocking to you. So what he did was he came up with a corporation called, instead of ABC Company, called it ABC Corporation. Made a fake company, got a plaintiff attorney, a defendant attorney, all to be in on this, and they supposedly came up with a settlement
Right.
and said in the settlement, okay, that mortgage is now discharged. So they put that discharge on record. So it looks like the original valid mortgage is being discharged
by the
lawsuit,
fake company.
by the fake lawsuit that he's got this worked out with the plaintiff and the defendant. So then he was able to sell the property because he said, "Oh, that discharge. I mean, that mortgage was deemed
discharged.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So he sold two properties, one for like $540,000 and one for $1.2 million, supposedly free and clear of any mortgages.
So off he goes with his
Off he
$2 million.
goes. He bought a yacht. I always love reading the bottom. He lost the yacht in the lawsuit.
did.
The poor guy. I know. So
He's in jail, right?
he's in jail for 6.5 years.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, that's Mafia 101. You know what I mean? When you make a big score, you don't go out and buy a yacht.
I know. You're right.
You small
You're right.
bills.
Right, small bills, right? You go to a casino, you launder it a little bit. You know what I mean?
And you leave the
and then
country. way, right?
Sure, you buy a small place offshore.
Slow it down because people are writing
I'm
right
sorry,
now. So they're writing out these notes you're giving them.
That's just
That's Mafia 101.
That's Mafia 101.
Yeah, we saw
You get
Goodfellas.
whacked. You buy a Cadillac and they'll put a two in a hat. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Don't be ostentatious. That's the easiest way
Speaking
of
of
getting
mafia,
caught.
see that article the other day? Someone got shot in the back of the head, and the report was it was under suspicious behavior.
As opposed to.
I think that was a little redundant. The guy gets shot in the back of the head. They think it's suspicious behavior.
Foul play
They think it might be foul
Really?
play.
Suspected.
Rick, you don't think he just bumped into a gun somewhere?
It was
And
accidental.
it wasn't by accident, right?
All right, so then we started talking, and I said, because we could go on and on. The attorney who didn't pay off any of the mortgage loans and he kept all the money during the refinance boom, and instead of paying off the mortgages, he would just pay the monthly mortgage. So it never looked like no one was ever calling on this.
Right. Oh, because the payments were up to date.
Exactly, right.
Right.
So
But
he
they're
kept all
still
that
in
money.
the person's name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so the person that this was perpetrated on or against had no idea this was going on.
He thought that loan was paid off.
Was paid off.
Right. Because he had
The
all
thing is, like, the attorney that's doing this has to know at some point this is going to catch up with them.
Yeah, that's the point I don't get.
Right,
Like,
I don't either.
But you will have had so much fun and good times once that happens that you will not care.
Yeah.
Conceivably, right?
Well, because
yeah.
you think I
But-
got away with that. I mean,
Suppose-
listen,
right.
that's
Well, see, but you never really get away with. You're getting away with it, but I think at the end of the day or the end of something,
right.
you're gonna start
right.
get.
Well, you had a couple people that got.
Yeah, it's a trail eventually, right?
Yeah.
I
So
think-
you actually knew a couple that got caught.
Right. So
yeah.
we were talking just a little bit ago about the person who bought a big parcel of land next to a very well-established subdivision.
Yep.
Split it all up into pieces that would be more desirable, somebody just to plop a house on, be more valuable, etc. And then he gets his appraiser buddy to appraise all those pieces with the comps all being from that well-established subdivision.
Oh.
Right. So he can now sell it for much more than it's really worth.
Yep.
And then his title cohort runs all the closings. So let's say it's a $300,000 sale. You're going to bring in $80,000 cash to close. You go to close, gets recorded. You never bring the cash.
Yep.
So everybody's got all this value in property, but no money's actually changed hands. It goes on for a long time because as the market's going up, everybody's just maybe putting a house on it, selling a spec home, or flipping the land for more value. But like we were just saying, that once the values start to drop, and somebody's left holding the bag.
One of the reasons they were doing that, and they were inflating it, right? So we'll come up with basic numbers. So selling a lot for $100,000, everyone was in cahoots.
Right.
And they said, all right, why don't you get a mortgage from the lender? Just ask for an 80%. We'll say you brought in the $20,000.
Exactly.
So you asked the lender for $80,000 mortgage. We're going to tell the lender you already brought in the $20,000 to come up with the $100,000, which was already inflated.
So they put a fake 20 on the books.
Right, exactly. Yep.
In the ether or wherever they put it.
Yep.
And so then the bank gives them the 80 grand. No money.
Yep.
No money
the
is
20 hasn't, right?
No
And what's
money.
the land actually worth?
Except the bank is the only one who's funding money, right?
They've actually drawn
exactly.
out some money, right?
So the land is worth what the appraisal says it's worth. It's not really, but if you can turn around and sell it that month for the same thing, which you probably could, it's worth $300,000. However, enough defaults happen. A couple of years go by.
Now, is the appraiser over appraising it?
Absolutely.
Is he in the? He's in the.
committing fraud.
So
the
you need
appraiser,
to-
the title company.
You need
They're
to
all in it
get
together.
3 or 4 professionals involved that are all go in on this deal. You can't do this on your own.
Right. You need to have friends in the industry and other lines of work who are all going to agree to go on this get rich.
They go to jail.
Together.
They go to jail for this stuff.
They did
all
in
day
this
long.
case, yeah.
So the closing attorney went to jail.
Closing attorney, FBI went to her house. She went to jail. The lenders didn't lend anymore. That company is still a lender, but those employees
Because they didn't do anything wrong, right?
Other than hiring a
bad
idiot.
appraiser.
A bad appraiser and a bad title company.
and a bad loan officer.
Yeah.
But right, yeah. And so, but when the values start going down and people can't turn around and flip it, and now they can't make their payments anymore either, then they start telling stories to anybody who'll listen about here's what really happened, and you want to be the first one to raise your hand and not the last.
Did you have some guy listening to the story, kind of, asked you or interviewed you,
Right.
and almost used those notes.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had there was a case against a builder in Phoenix who was doing similar to what we were talking about. Instead of the down payment being for the land, he would give out fake receipts for the 20% of, let's say, his $1 million. From the borrower. He'd show you a receipt saying, I already have it. You don't have to verify it. It doesn't need to come into closing. We're good to go. Hopefully the bank will then just fund the loan. He'll keep doing this, flipping. But then, he's got a mortgage broker doing that with him. Eventually, he gets caught, and the U.S. attorney who's working with the bank and prosecuting the builder and has the mortgage broker helping him too, comes to me, our bank, and says, hey, can you help us? We need your expert witness, give us the background how this can happen. And you do that. You spend a bunch of days with them and giving them the notes and going over the background of how this can happen and what the practices are to try to protect. Long story short, the builder gets convicted. A few months go by. We get a call from a distressed borrower who says she can no longer pay on her land loan. And it is worth now 30 cents on the dollar what she borrowed against. But she's a doctor, makes tons of, it's not an issue with payments. She just doesn't want it anymore. Same problem a lot of people have.
So she can't make her mortgage payments anymore?
Doesn't want to make her.
Yeah, that's a
doesn't
different.
want to. But then when you start looking at it on the title, it's not just her on the loan. It's another borrower as well. And his name is the same. It's really familiar. I'm like, telling my boss, I know. This is the guy. This is the attorney who came to us for help to try to put away the builder.
So he was critiquing how they were getting out of those deals.
Yes.
Because he had a deal.
In
so
hindsight,
he's going to figure out how he was getting out.
He was throwing you off the scent is what he was doing.
A very skilled attorney.
Right. It wasn't me. It was them.
Right.
Don't look at me. I'm fine.
So he did his job for the government and put this builder away. And then also when it was time to take care of himself, got a nice settlement.
Yeah.
So these are just variations of Ponzi schemes.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, it goes back.
Right.
Again, to everything's fine until the end.
Until it's not.
It's sort of like life.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
Everything's fine until you're dead.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Everything's fine until something turns, and then you stop pointing fingers at everyone.
Right.
And just so the people know that you can't. Some of these things have been like everybody looks like chain of title now. You don't back there years ago, where if you were on title, you were on title. Now people look, have you been on title for 12 months, 24 months, etc. Not just did someone flip it to you the other day.
And these banks want to see that deposit now.
Absolutely. That's part of our job when we do our title work is they want to see the 24-month chain of title, which means they want to know who's owned this property for the last 24 months.
Exactly.
So
some of these banks, I'm not sure if they're still as rigid on this, but they want to make sure that money came out of their account that they approved and verified.
Oh, they still do.
Absolutely.
They still do.
All right, we're going to get to your arts and craft class in a second.
Okay.
But let me
another one of my favorite subjects.
Let me preface it there.
What?
So you'll hear. So evidently there's some corrupt loan officers out there. I'm sorry. I don't want breaking news.
Jeez.
Here's one loan officer.
Can't trust anybody
He was
anymore.
submitting individuals' loans applications to his lender.
Right.
So you would come in and you want to borrow $100,000.
Right.
But there's certain documentation that you have to supply.
You have to supply to
so
say
that originator
that
can
you're
go to his
worth that.
underwriter and say, listen, this is why we need to lend him a loan.
Right.
What this underwriter was doing was using his own.
the loan officer.
The loan officer.
Yeah, mortgage broker in this case.
Mortgage broker
right?
in this case was using his own personal information, like any statements he needed.
Well, that screams fraud.
Are you, really? All right. Evidently, this guy did it 23 different loans.
Wow.
Yeah. So now he's in jail. So we talked about this a little bit.
What about our loan officer that asked us to put a secret second?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
this is about 10
Silent
years ago.
second.
Oh yeah.
Those still go on.
Oh yeah.
We haven't seen it. We haven't seen this loan officer since. But
Well, you don't know when visiting hours are.
Right.
you're right. You're right.
You could do a little research.
But
Yeah, so related so that on that $100,000 loan,
Right.
the bank's given $80,000 and the closing attorney is saying, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it. He's already given $20,000." This there was attorneys in the Cambridge, Mass area that were stupid enough to say, "Yeah, he's already given the $20,000."
Right.
But the very next document, you saw another mortgage for $20,000 recorded right after that $80,000.
Right. Okay.
So they were in jail. So you were telling me about some less than scrupulous originators. They're the ones that you go in, you're the initial contact at a bank where you're trying to get a loan, and you actually called it arts and craft class.
Oh, yeah. I was telling you a story from it's a while back, but there's still, if you every file back, let's say mid 2005-ish, it was all hard files. You weren't submitting things electronically then.
Yep.
So when we would take files from a broker, for example, they'd probably be sending it to multiple sources who had multiple programs. If you remember back then, you had stated income, you had full doc, you had no income. So they're making a lot of packages to send to different lenders trying to get the best deal, conceivably. But one day we got a package, and the coordinator was doing the data entry because, as I said, it's just a hard file comes in. Yep. And she's looking at it, and the depth perception looks a little off on the 1003. And she takes her fingernail to the income numbers and flicks up the scotch taped on.
Are you kidding me?
Numbers.
What she was trying to do was,
what
correct me if I'm wrong,
trying to do.
That girl should have been making a copy of that and submitting it.
Well, if you were going to commit fraud.
So what that broker meant to do, and what he probably did do to another lender, was he meant to make a copy of what he gave us.
Right.
So then conceivably someone would just look at it, enter it in, and go along the way.
Right. As opposed to
he sent in the original.
He sent in the original.
With the doctored. What an idiot.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
And this was, so what we found out later was somebody in that company told us, they're like, oh, yeah, that's what so-and-so calls arts and crafts class. We're like, what? They're like, yeah, they'll get together every now and then, and they do an arts and crafts to teach other ways, creative lending.
Yeah.
So they're using one piece of paper and just change numbers on it. So
they make a copy of it.
Then it looks like the original, but you don't see.
You didn't see the original.
Some criminals are the smartest guys in the
world. You didn't see it, and that's the app that the borrower actually signed.
Right.
And exactly. So then you're just going off of that.
Wasn't there a mortgage company, a local mortgage company, a few years back that the feds came in to investigate, and they actually had like cut and paste type of like documents like that.
Evidently, they were coming in the front door. In the back, it's what you read about.
They're shredding.
Oh, they're shredding like crazy.
But they have a whole bunch of. I think what they got caught on and they were fined on was original document like this with cut and pasted. Like what you were just saying, like a piece of paper taped over the real whatever the real document number was on the the tax return or something.
Oh, in the back there, it was like,
let me guess, this was during the 2007, 2008 period, I'm guessing, right before. Right.
Yeah. But they were fined on every count. Every single document that the feds found on that, they were fined like, $1,000, $1,000. Like it was big.
For every single piece of paper.
And that's before there were, NMLS IDs too, right? So if you knew so-and-so was just hopping from shop to shop committing fraud, it could be pretty tough to try to keep up because really what they'll do is just have a friend submit it on their behalf. Now everybody's got an ID, right?
Right.
So who's, every company knows who you
And it's coming back to you.
Exactly.
It's coming back to you.
There needs to be no regulation on this. People are crazy.
It is just...
What are you, nuts?
How about the guy who was doing equity? He was actually in Arizona too. I just saw this doing equity lines. But
what's going on in Arizona?
I know, it's crazy.
Wild West,
so
I guess.
So what he was doing was taking out an equity line and then falsifying a discharge, throwing it on record, and then going and getting another equity line. So he had about 5 or 6 equity lines, all that were. It was like Irving Fryer. Remember the Patriots guy?
He did that?
Yeah. Well, he didn't falsify. He just went out and asked for 5 loans on one property.
Well, and they said, because you're Irving Fryer.
Rumail Robinson, right?
What's that?
Didn't Rumail Robinson have a similar thing?
Oh, so what happened with...
I thought it was like with a family member or something. But
I know Irving's mother was involved.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were throwing off someone else.
But if we came across a fraudulent discharge on record, we wouldn't know it was fraudulent.
It's very hard, yeah.
How would you know?
We really wouldn't know that it was.
Because it's in a stack of papers and you're assuming people are acting in good faith.
It's at the Registry of Deeds and it was signed by so-and-so or whatnot.
That's why you might need to get owner's title insurance.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
My God, where would you get that?
Is there an attorney in the neighborhood who could...
If you know like a good real estate attorney who could help you out.
Does that real estate attorney have a phone number?
He does. It's
which is
781-944-9222.
Does the law firm have a name at all?
It's Carter Law Office.
She's starting to talk like she's from New Hampshire now.
It's Carter. It's not called Carter. It's not
Carter.
It's
not Richard Mack Carter.
Call us at CAAARTAA. Oh, no, forget the R.
Get Carter.
Get Carter. That's it.
You need to get Carter.
Well, I think we gave a lot of wealth of information today. I hope
34 minutes.
I hope people were writing notes down.
I'm exhausted.
So. I know. So Will Daly, thank you for coming
you're
on.
welcome. Thanks for having me.
We might have to have another show on this.
Oh, yeah, I think
we
so.
only got through, and this is shocking, 2 out of the 15 I have here.
Honest, that's not like us.
That's not like us.
Yeah.
That's not like
And
us.
we're going to be putting up do-it-yourself YouTube video about how to actually be fraudulent.
Yeah.
So
or do a fraud.
We got one on
check.
cashier's checks.
Yep.
We got on one wire fraud.
And one on arts and crafts.
Right.
We can teach you how to cut and paste, right?
It's
And how to submit the wrong form.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
luckily most submissions happen online now, so it's harder to get the
Oh,
Scotch
thank
tape in the computer.
But that's going to be in your YouTube presentation, right?
Of course.
Thanks for joining us here on the Real Estate House Party. We're going to have Justin Grammer on in a couple weeks talking about rentals. Next week,
Is he bringing the wine?
He's bringing the wine.
Next
He's
week's
going
what?
to tell chickenpox stories. And I think we might have Paul Gilligan in next week.
I like Paul Gilligan.
Our electrician guru.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us. This is Attorney Rick Carter, Kathy Holtshouser, Paralegal Extraordinaire, the one and only Tony V. And thanks for coming on, Will Daly from
Thank you, Rick.
Bangor Savings. Thanks for having us.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21, Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.